And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another day, another broadcast here of the SEL, the StarCraft Evolution League Full Championship 2024, the quarterfinals. I'm, of course, your Live VIP with you, and joined by these amazing players, the people in the chats, and by my plushies as well. Welcome, welcome, one and all. It has been a grueling league so far. We've been going over the entirety of the group stage over the past week, been going over through Group A, through to Group D, and now we have made it to the playoffs. We've made it to the quarterfinals. Throughout the group stage, we did determine the top 8 players, and we have them before us. Let's go. Now, as we settle into this broadcast, a big shout out to Kamikaze. Obrigado, papi. Obrigado. Fala, galera. Thank you so much for the raid. Hope you had a great stream. Hope you had a great ladder session as well. I believe Gustavo, I believe Host Masters were hosting a tournament, and I don't know if Kamikaze was involved in that, but regardless, hope you had a good time nonetheless, as we can switch our scenes over to the bracket to have a look at the upcoming matches. Oh boy. Also, I should very quickly reiterate as well, welcome one and all to an event that is not StarCraft 2, it is a StarCraft Evolution tournament. What exactly is StarCraft Evolution? Well, it is a mod. It is a mod that brings together the Brood War races and the StarCraft 2 races and pins them against each other. So, in a way, there are 6 races to pick, but each series, each match is Brood War versus SC2. It's never SC2 versus SC2, it's never Brood War versus Brood War. And again, I do highly recommend checking out the VODs. We went over the group stage over the past week. All the VODs are available on Twitch. They're all available on YouTube as well, depending on what you prefer. I do recommend, as we had some banger series and some amazing matches, and now we are here with our top 8. We have our bracket here on my right. We have our top 8 players. We have from the top SHIN versus Dark in a ZvZ, Korea versus Korea. It's a bit of a shame that we have mirror matchups. I was hoping that we could spread the love a little bit, spread out some of these players, but este hyper one for out of the seeding of the tournament and of the brackets. Shaking my head, but we have a ZvZ to kick things off with Dark versus SHIN. Scrolling down, we have a ZVP with 3-point and Classic, so all the Zerg players are on the same side of the bracket. SHIN, Dark, and 3-point. Likewise, Classic is stuck with all the Zerg players as well, so his PVZ is going to be put to the test. Oh boy. I mean, coming into these first 2 upper matches, SHIN versus Dark is going to be an interesting one because SHIN has invested a lot more time into StarCraft Evolution. I would say that SHIN's Brood War Zerg is better than Dark's Brood War Zerg, but Dark's SC2 Zerg is better than SHIN's SC2 Zerg. So there's a weird dynamic going on there, and that mirror matchup is going to be a very interesting one, I feel. It's going to be very interesting, and it's a hard one to call. Part of me is leaning towards SHIN, favoring SHIN, but at the same time, I can't count Dark out. He's an animal, he's a beast, and that might even be a short series. Also, as a quick reminder, these are all best of 5s. These are all best of 5s in the quarterfinals. Semifinals, the best of 7s. Grand finals, best of 7 as well. You could argue maybe it should be a best of 9, but it's fine. It's fine. So best of 7s tomorrow onwards. As a reminder as well, the semifinals and the grand finals are going to be held tomorrow, and we are going to be casting that in 24 hours at this time, but tomorrow. So just as a heads up, mark your calendars for the remainder of this event. Scrolling down though, we have 3-point versus Classic. 3-point is a very active Zerg player in the StarCraft Evolution scene, and I do think that he is coming into this tournament. I think he was favored to make a deep run, to make it at least into the semis, maybe even to the grand finals. I do think that 3-point is a very strong contender, and even though Classic is a bigger name and Classic is a more successful player in StarCraft 2, I do favor 3-point when it comes to his Brood War prowess as well. So I think that's going to be a close one. I will say, though, I do think I actually favor Classic there over 3-point. Despite 3-point's prowess in Brood War, I think I do slightly favor Classic there, but I would not be surprised if it goes to the ace match. If there's like a back and forth there between the two of them, and if it goes the distance, I do hope that that is the case. Regardless, best of luck. Best of luck to 3-point and Classic. Scrolling down, we have a star player here in Uthermal. He popped off. He surprised us last night. For those who were not here, last night we casted Group D. Group D did involve Uthermal, and Uthermal, he made it out of the group stage in first place. He made it out over Dark, actually. Very impressive stuff. Uthermal, he came in with a plan, with a lot of specialized builds, specifically with a lot of all-ins. A lot of aggressive play. When it came to Brood War, I believe he actually picked Brood War every game, or I should say he played Brood War every game against Dark in their series. And yeah, Euthermal, he was able to come out with some, again, very thought out builds, very successful at some points, a little bit unsuccessful in others, but did come out on top. But I'm curious how he plays in this TVT, because we casted Euthermal versus Honmono, and that was the highlight of last night's broadcast, in my opinion, was game 1 on Citadel between Euthermal and Honmono. TVT, it was amazing. Likewise, I know that Kiwian and Quanta as well have some killer TVT as well, including their Brood War and SC2 races. That's not going to be easy here. I mean, Euthermal, his best matchup is TVT, but I think this is like the best bracket for him. But I do wish him the best of luck, because I feel like a lot of these matches are going to be close. Kiwian, likewise, nowadays he's a caster more than a player. Kiwian, he is top. TOP, aka top. Kiwian, same person, same player. He usually casts these events, but he has been competing and playing in SEL, and yeah, he also is looking quite strong and quite in form. It's going to be hard to determine who I favor between the two of them. It's a toss-up, I feel. It's going to be a toss-up. I'm hoping for a back-and-forth series. Scrolling down, we have Quanta and Spirit. Quanta is a heavy favorite in this event. I think I would go as far as to say Quanta is the best Terran player amongst all the Terrans in this bracket, including Euthermal. I think I will go that far. I do rate Quanta higher than Kiwian, higher than Honmono, higher than Euthermal, and higher than Spirit as well. Like, Quanta is the one to beat. And considering he's also in the TVT portion of the bracket, I feel like I do favor him moving forward here. In saying so, though, Spirit is also a player that is, I would say, unfamiliar with SC Evo. He hasn't invested too much time into StarCraft Evolution. That did seem quite clear. But at the same time, he was actually looking quite surprising. Quite surprising during Group D. Spirit, it did look like he was kind of like learning as he was going. It did feel like he was like feeling things out and kind of like you know, trying to adapt over time throughout the entire broadcast of Group D. It did feel that way, that Spirit was just kind of like feeling his way through, did make his way through in the end. And because of that, I do think he has a lot of potential. I think he has a lot of potential as a player. I do think that if he does invest more time, I do think he can and will overcome someone like Quanta, but it all comes down to like how much effort and time has he put into StarCraft Evolution. The reality is some of these players, specifically Spirit and Dark, for example, have invested less time into StarCraft Evolution than some of these other players. So I'm curious. And of course, Spirit can still rely on his SE2 prowess. I do rate Spirit's SE2 Terran higher than all the other Terran players here. So, you know, that is also a wild card to kind of throw into the mix as well. So it is going to be exciting. What's this tournament? Can I join? No longer, unfortunately. The qualifiers for this event was like a month ago. This is a league. This is a league that has been going on and progressing over the past, you know, couple of weeks. We just wrapped up the group stage, and this is the playoff bracket. So if you did want to take part in this tournament, I mean, the qualifiers are long since gone, but maybe next time for the next event, if they host another season, you know, maybe a 2025, you know, summer season of SEL, then you can take part. But this is kind of the later stages of the tournament. Just catching up. Here we go. Just catching up in the chat. Oh, hello, Hyper One. Hello, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? Beautiful, beautiful. But for the time being, we are going to be jumping into our first series of the night. It's going to be a ZvZ between Shin and Dark. As I did mention, I do think it's going to be quite an interesting dynamic between the two of them, where I do favor Shin on paper, but at the same time, Dark is always that X factor here when it comes to his play in general, when it comes to his competition as well. His ability to make it out of the group stage is indicative of that, so we'll see. We shall see as we are jumping into game number 1. Also, quick update as well. I am streaming. I am live for the first time on my new PC. I am a little bit anxious that things are going to break. But so far, so good. As spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Leylines, we have the South Korean Zerg player, the Blue Zerg representing Talent Esports. It is Dark. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have the other South Korean Zerg player, the Red Zerg, representing Gaming Gladiators. It is Shin. Here we go. Yeah, we have our first best of 5 of the night. As a reminder, it is going to be that best of 5. Also, as a reminder, as it is stated in the title of the stream, this event is covered by replays. The event actually took place live a couple of hours ago. So a couple of hours ago did go live. We are here catching up on those replays on what did occur. The same is going to be happening tomorrow as well, where right after the event ends, we'll be going live and going over all of those replays. So that is the plan. As a plan today and tomorrow with the playoff bracket. Meanwhile, we do have a 12 pull here by Dark. Okay, 12 pull by Dark. Dark, of course, he's playing and rocking the Brood War Zerg. Meanwhile, Shin, Hatch Gas pull. Standard opener. Standard economic opener here out of Shin. Dark going for the 12 pull. Lings are on the way. Now, this is not an all-in. Bearing in mind, 12 pulls are in a way a macro opener. They are designed to get economic damage early on and give you an economic lead, as Dark is expanding and taking a natural. So Dark is going to be the aggressor. He will be moving out, and his goal here is to get a couple of drone kills, ideally 2 to 3 drones. Ideally, he is looking for 2 to 3 drone kills here, as Lings do move out across the map. The bipedal Lings, let's go. As they do move out. Dark double, okay, I was going to say double expanding, but he's getting his macro hatchery behind this as well. Is speeding across. Meanwhile, the Overlord has yet to confirm. Ooh, Shin is in the dark, at least for the moment. Second Overlord will get eyes on the Lings. Now Shin knows, and it's going to come down to Shin's micro, his unit control. How well can he drone drill and minimize losses? Hatcheries under fire. Boys will soon be pulled. Hatchery is taking a lot of damage. Lings are on the way, Queens are on the way as well. Shin has yet to pull the boy. There we go. The boys are being pulled, but the hatchery is down to half HP. Half HP hatchery is getting quite low. So far, so good. Shin not losing any drones yet. Up. We'll lose one. One drone goes down. Up. Oh, second drone goes down as well. That was late control there by Shin. So 2 drone kills so far. Not bad here by Dark. And Shin is buying time for the Queen. Queen does pop out. Shin holds. Shin does hold, and that was pretty good damage so far by Dark, getting 2 drones. If you look at the units tab here, Dark, he's only down 2 workers. As I mentioned before, ideally Dark, he wants 2 to 3 drone kills to even things up. He didn't quite get what he wanted, not quite, so I would give the edge to Shin. Shin has a bit of a better start here. Likewise, Overlord is parked on top of the base. Why is that? No queens. Bearing in mind, Dark is playing Brood War Zerg, so no queens are available. Shin going for his own Bailey Nest, making use of all these things. Makes sense. He's making use of the links that he was forced to make, and he's getting ready for his own Lingbane counterattack. Meanwhile, back at home, Dark is investing into side defense, into a sunken colony. Now, for those that are curious, because Brood War Zerg players have no queens, sunken colonies are a must. They are a must, and we do see the links have been scouted, the mass link has been spotted, and Darky responds with 2 more sunken colonies, 3 more. Oh my god! He throws down a wall of sunken colonies and an Evo chamber as well. He's getting ready. He's getting ready for the all-in. Dark, he doesn't have confirmation, he didn't see the Bailey Nest, but more or less he's aware that something is wrong. And that's going to be how many? That's going to be 5 sunken colonies. I mean, I say that, 4 of them are creep colonies for the time being. It looks like Dark wants to wait till he knows what's going on before actually wasting resources. Hydra Den's on the way, bearing in mind that Hydra Tech is hatch-based, not lair-based. So Dark is working on those Hydras, macro hatch as well. And Shin, he's parked outside of the bases. He does see the wall. He does confirm the setup. And Shin, from here, should be droning. He should be, and he is. He's droning up. He's getting some overlords. Remember, because there's no queens, he has free vision, basically, of both the main and the natural. Bailings are now going to be morphing in. But as a reminder, again, Shin is droning. So from here, we will continue. Will continue. Shin, he should spot these 2 drones, and he can the Hydras as well. He could try to pick them off. Hydras are amassing. They're now hunting down the overlords. Ooh, this is going to be a supply block for Shin. It's going to be a supply block. Does get the drones. 3 drones go down. Lings are going to surround. Yeah, the collapse on the Hydras. 2 Hydras go down. He's going for the mineral line. The mineral line is... Oh no! The drones! Massive connections. 10 workers going down, and he's not done. 17 drone kills. Shin, he busts on in. Again, just really good timing for Shin. If you notice, Shin, he waited for Dark to kill his own Evo chamber. Was down to, what, 3/4 HP, if not half HP. And then Shin, then he went for the kill. Because of that, he had to waste less Bailings. Less Bailings were wasted. More of them left over, and SHIN is doing crippling damage. And Hydras, they might not be light units, but they're not as robust as Roaches. Nowhere near as robust. Behind this, SHIN taking a third base, droning up, saturating, taking his gases, should be getting into Roach production, and Dark should from this point be all in. Ooh, as he morphed every single sunken colony or every single creep colony into a sunken colony. Ay, ay, ay. That was a big investment. That was a big investment that didn't pay off, right? Like, this all morphed in after the push had finished, after the aggression had ended. So, wasted resources here for Dark. Likewise, down to 33 drones. And now he has to redrone. Now he has to resaturate. Now, SHIN is making Roaches at the moment. You could argue he could get away with skipping them, but he doesn't know. He doesn't know if Dark is all in or not. So I don't blame SHIN for making 7 Roaches at the moment, but as we can see, Dark is droning, Dark is hunting down Overlords, and SHIN could have gotten away with droning up even harder. As he's building up a handful of Roaches, taking his gases. Dark back at home trying to stabilize, had to spend a lot of larva here on redroning. Thankfully he has plenty of larva due to the 4-hatch setup. Eva chamber for upgrades. Hydra speed is going to be a little bit faster here for Dark. Meanwhile, we do see SHIN likewise still not droning. Only 2 base saturation. Only 2 base saturation for SHIN. I mean, he sees that the third base is now being taken by Dark, and SHIN, he has the option right now. He can choose. Does he go for a 2 base all-in, or does he macro? He's macroing. Sees the third. That is his tell. So he throws down a second Eva chamber for +1 armor, and likewise is droning up his third. Now, I do think the +1 carapace is actually going to be more important here in this dynamic, just because I do think that the rate of attack for the Hydras is a little bit faster than the Roach attack rate. Because of that, like, carapace is going to be that much more impactful here. Is going to be more beneficial, I should say, for the defending player against Hydra attacks. So that is a nice little kind of tidbit here that SHIN can take advantage of. Hydras move out, we hit on the Roaches. Ooh. Yeah, the Roaches come in. They take down 1, take down 2, and again, in a fight between Roaches and Hydras, Roaches win. Roaches win all 100% of the time. There are some sunken colonies though, and yeah, Dark, he pulls back. He pulls back to the colonies. That will help him defend. And SHIN has to retreat. Now what Dark needs to get into is his lair and lurkers. That's the tech that is going to be faster for Dark. Lurkers are going to be necessary if he wants to try and survive in this game. Doesn't need those lurkers. Ravager's going to be morphing in. So far, Dark, he's holding on, but this third base, it's so exposed. We have colonies behind this. We're pushing into a concave. Overextension here by SHIN. Does overextend. Bob's going to be thrown down, zoning back Dark. SHIN is lacking reinforcements. He needs more Roaches. Doesn't quite have enough to work with. Zoning Dark back. Getting a couple of hits off on the hatchery itself. Bearing in mind, SHIN does have the better economy. And yeah, he can just trade. He can't just trade head on. Ooh, so many Hydras going down. The colonies are a little bit too far back. Oof. And these are expensive losses for Dark. Again, it was an uphill battle. He lost so many drones early on to the Ling Bane bust. It's just been... yeah, brutal road to stabilizing here for Dark, and he just isn't able to. Third base goes down. Files a takedown. The colony, not quite. Gee, those are tanky. Oh my god. They put Spine Crawlers to shame. But they are going to be going down as well. That's a kill as well. GG gets called, and SHIN takes game number 1. GG. SHIN does take the first game here, a very, very intense game 1 as well. As a reminder, winding it back, Dark went for a 12 pull. He did not do enough damage. He was vulnerable to a Ling Bane bust, and we saw that Dark, he thought that he was stabilizing. He thought that he was safe to knock down the Evo chamber and to expand. It was when that was occurring that SHIN committed. He committed with the Bane bust. He broke in. He got, what was it, 17 drone kills and like 3 Hydras as well. It was insane how much damage he dealt. And from there, SHIN was in the driver's seat. SHIN just sent it and brought it home, and with that, SHIN takes the lead. But that was merely only game 1, and a lot of it did come down to the failed 12 pool. A lot of it came down to the aftermath of the failed 12 pool. So I would imagine that we're going to be calming things down as we get into game number 2. Let's go. Here we go. As game 2 is going to be on Citadel. Oh, and we have horizontal spawns, and spawning in the top right-hand corner of Citadel, we have the blue. Okay, why are they both blue? God damn it. We have the blue Zerg player, the Korean Zerg, now rocking SC2, the SC2 Zerg race, representing Talent Esports. It is Dark. I'm shaking my head. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have the, oh my god, we have the Teal Zerg player. He's crazy. We have the Teal Zerg going for a 13-12. He is going for an all-in. The South Korean Zerg player representing the Brood War Zerg race. It is SHIN. He's crazy. He's lost his mind. Welcome one and all to Citadel. First things first, it's raining. It is. You can hear the rain pittering and pattering. Likewise, there's a thunderstorm in the background as well. But more importantly, 4-player map. It is a 4-player spawn map. You can spawn in bottom right, top left, top right as well. Any position here you can spawn in. Neither player is aware, which is why it's very important that SHIN realize what's going on quickly, because SHIN is going all in. He's committing here to really fast link speed into a link flood. Now, the Overlord here of SHIN will confirm the hatchery placement, so SHIN will find out where Dark is. Dark has yet to confirm. Does have his own second Overlord, and the Overlords, they might just spot each other. Yeah, they do. They do spot each other, now they know. And now, both SHIN and Dark are fully aware. His first Overlord has to reposition as it's out of position here towards the south. Dark going hatch gas pool. Standard opener out of Dark. Meanwhile, again, 13-12 out of SHIN. SHIN does pull out of gas because, I mean, there's no banelings, so there's no use of gas really here, and he's just link flooding. SHIN is straight up link flooding here, and remember, close spawn. SHIN, he gambled so hard. He gambled so hard here. He was lucky enough to scout ahead of time, and lucky enough to actually spawn in close by ground. Close by ground instead of cross spawn diagonally, I mean. As lings have arrived, they're going for the natural. Dark has yet to really confirm what's going on. Dark's been droning. And now the hatchery's under fire. Queens are on the way, lings are on the way. The hatchery taking a lot of hits here. Again, Dark, he failed in the 12 pool, and now SHIN is showing him how to rush. The boys are being pulled. Dark, oh, he has to minimize losses though. Dark, he might believe this is a 12 pool. It's not. Link speed is almost done. And Dark, he's going to be punished. Link speed just now finishing up. Catching out some of these reinforcing lings. So far, good control of Dark. He doesn't lose a drone. The drones have survived. So far, so good. Oh, that's going to be one drone kill. SHIN, he comes in for the surround. He does surround, and he will clean this up. Again, with these speed lings, he shuts down the queen, shuts down the lings, the drones as well. And we are looking to have a fast series here. My god, game 1 was fast, but game 2 even faster. As Dark may just lose every single drone. That's 10 drones going down. The natural queen should fall, and the hatchery as well. As the hatchery is under fire, getting so low. Dark, can he save it? The queen is coming in. If Dark can save the hatchery, he's still in this game. Yeah, SHIN, he falls back. He falls back. SHIN behind this, he's droning. SHIN is droning up. Dark holds. Whew. Okay. Now, there's a couple of different things going on here. On the one hand, Dark does hold, and Dark is going into his own link speed and his own link flood. Dark, he went down to 11 drones. Dark, his economy is, it's good. It's dead. He has a dead economy. Dark is all in. Dark is all in. SHIN should be aware that he's done critical damage, and back at home, sunken colony. He's throwing down sunken colonies. I do like that he has 1. We need 2. Yeah, we need 2, maybe even 3 sunken colonies. They're on the way. And we'll see if SHIN can survive the counterattack. Ooh, as he is walling up. Is walling up. Lings, they just ignored. They go for the main. Yeah, Lings, they flood into the main base instead. Ay. Boys are being pulled. Drones are going down. Dark, can he punish? SHIN, he had no lings. Oh, drones are going down. Brutal loss to SHIN. He rushed into a lair. That's every drone going down, and that may just be game. That's 10, 11 drone kills. Oh my god, this should not have happened. This straight up should not have happened. As, again, SHIN, he was too greedy. GG gets called, and Dark with the counterattack catches SHIN with his pants down, and we are tied up 1-1. Wow, GG. GG, well played. SHIN, after dealing critical damage, what was he doing? He was droning. He was making spine crawlers. Oh, sunken colonies. Sunken colonies, that was a good move, but he was droning. Again, he was droning instead of making his own lings, and without his own defensive lings, he had nothing at home to defend. Dark, he had the wherewithal to just ignore the sunken colonies, just run into the main and wreak havoc. GG. GG, well played. With that, our series is tied up. And I'm curious, are we ever going to embrace a standard game with a standard opener, I should say? Game 1, Dark 12 pulled. Game 2, Shin 13-12. Game 3, what do we got? What do we got? Oh. Turns out Shin tried to teach Dark and Shin face painted. Basically, what we're learning here is neither player knows how to rush. Shin tried to teach Dark, but Dark cannot be taught. Dark and Shin, they're both animals, pappy. Game 1, Dark tried to cheese, it failed. Game 2, Shin tried to cheese, also failed. Game 3, do they cheese each other? Is that what happens next? Maybe. As spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Sylphid, we have the South Korean Zerg player, the Blue Zerg, the Brood War Zerg. Being able to tie up the series here, we'll see if he can take a lead. As he's droning, it is Dark. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have the SE2 Zerg player, the Red Zerg. Representing Gaiman Gladiators, it is Shin. Here we go. And do you see what I see? For the first time in this series, we're droning. It looks like both Dark and Shin, they've gotten it out of their systems. You know, they were pent up, Bappy. They were pent up. And now they've gotten the cheese out, the rush out even. And now we can calm things down and settle into a standard opener. Hatch first. Hatch first by Shin, hatch first by Dark. We can calm things down. As a reminder, Sylphid is a 3-player spawn map. You can spawn in top center, bottom right, and bottom left. So 3 spawn locations. We can see Shin immediately scouts bottom left. Dark scouts horizontally, which means Shin will be the first to confirm. If the Overlord of Dark spots it though, then they will scout each other. Yep, there we go. Both players scout each other, so now both players know where they have spawned in, and Dark should be repositioning this Overlord. There we go. Does it reposition the Overlord, and now we can settle in. Now, as we work towards the mid-game here, we did see an attempted mid-game in Game 1, if you recall, where Dark tried to get into a 3-base economy, but he had just lost too much. But we should be heading in a similar direction. What I mean by that is Ling, Hydra into Lurker tech. Lurkers were something that Dark never got into in Game 1 because he had no economy for it, but that should be the direction that he's headed in. Meanwhile, from the side of Shin, we should be seeing Roach Ravager. In saying that, Shin does have the option to try to vie for map control early on with Ling Bane. He could play Ling Bane and could try to contain Dark on 2 bases, while Shin takes a 3rd base and takes an economic lead. I'm curious how this dynamic plays out. Again, the downside here when it comes to early Ling Bane battles is that Dark, as a Brood War Zerg player, has no Banelings. Fast lair. Makes sense. So, Dark is going for the fast lair. Fast lair. Interesting. I'm curious what the lair is going to be for. What I mean by that, I should reiterate this as well. A Hydra tech is not hatch tech. Sorry, it's not lair tech, it's hatch tech. So you don't need a lair for Hydras. So the fast lair here feels like Muta play. At least in my mind, it could be Mutas here from Dark. Remember though, the Overlord is parked on top. Shin, he sees everything. He's parked on top of the main base, he's parked on top of the natural as well. Shin sees all, he knows all, back at home. He's going for a fast Roach Warren. Very fast Roach Warren here by Shin. It looks like Shin is going for it all in. It looks like Shin may believe it's going to be Mutas. If Dark tries to go into 2-base Muta, then he's going to be vulnerable to an all in. Oh boy. As Lair is about to finish, and Dark, what do you have for us? No Ling speed. It's got to be Mutas, right? Yep, there it is. Spire. Spire gets thrown out, and Shin sees. I mean, what's happening right now? Are we really trying to rush 2-base Muta when Shin has, map hacks and he sees everything? And this is triggering the all-in. So Shin is going to go for a 2-base all-in, or a 1.5-base all-in. Roaches are moving out. Roaches have been scouted, and Dark, I mean, he has to wall up. There we go. He throws down a massive wall of Spine Crawlers. The sunken colonies are upon us. How many is it? It's going to be 6, 7. 7 sunken colonies here for Dark. He has nothing else to defend. And here come the roaches. Now, Shin sees. Shin, he sees this response. He sees the reaction. And this is necessary for Dark to survive. As it's going to be a Ling and Ravager all in for Shin. You can see Dark even walling up behind the sunken colony as well. I mean, that's a lot of sunken colonies. Oh, gets a roach. Yeah, a bit of miscontrol by Shin. He pulls away too late. Oh my god. First colony goes down, but there's there's 6 more behind this. Soon to be 7 more behind this. Yeah, Shin cannot break this. He cannot break through. The Spire is going to finish. Dark, he's got builds. I mean, if he mapped this out, even with this all-in by Shin, even though Shin knew what was happening, he cannot stop this. Again, it's because, fun fact, Sunken Colonies, they morph in faster than Spine Crawlers. They're so quick to morph in, they're ready, mutas are on the way, and Darky gets away with it. Darky gets away with it. Shin finding out that the hard way. He has to drone up, he has to saturate, he has to try to get into Queen production, and Dark will have the advantage. Dark is down in drones currently, but these mutas will give him map control. And here we go, the mutas, they have arrived. Mutas, they force back the Roach Ravager. Shin has to retreat. And really, I mean, this all-in out of Shin was a bait. Like, Dark, he baited him into the all-in. He was perfectly safe back at home. Clearly, Dark, he was confident. I mean, I say he was confident. Did morph in extra colonies, so clearly a little bit anxious. Didn't need them in the end. Big investments. And mutas, they hunt down every single overlord. Behind this, Dark needs to drone though. His saturation, his economy is very low. All he has to do from here is drone up and make mutas. From the side of Shin, he has options. Either go into Hydra tech, into Hydras, or try to go into a faster infestation bit and go into something like Infestors for fungal growth. But it should be Hydras. Should be Queen into Hydra, or could be Queen into Infestor still, true. No third base, no third expansion. Which means Darky can catch up economically. As mutas are looking for more overlords, quickly checking the Unisource tab. It's been three overlord kills so far. And Shin is going Queen Infestor. That is not a Hydra Den, that is an infestation pit on the way instead. That's going to be for Infestors for fungal growths. And Shin is just scouting, checking for any tech. +1 range. Ooh. Interesting. Okay, there we go. I was very confused for a moment there. Range is cancelled. It's going to be melee instead. That makes more sense. This should be either just purely mass muta or... No, wait, what? Okay, I was going to say this should be either purely mass muta or muta into something like +1 melee into ultras, for example. But it looks like Dark, he's second guessing himself a little bit here. Is going for, there we go, Ling speed into +1 melee into a third base. Yeah, it should be Ling Muta. Should be Ling Muta into eventually Ultras in a later game state. Actually, now that I think about it, I wonder if it's viable to go like Ling Muta into like Greater Spire, like Guardian. Again, I've never been in this kind of game state. I've never been able to cast a ZvZ go that long, and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself because, you know, the game may end prematurely. we might not get there yet. As Queens are amassing, Infestors are amassing as well. But it's something to think about, definitely, if it is viable to go into Guardians. Now, the reason why you would not be able to do this and tech into Broodlords in SE2 is because in SE2, mutas don't morph into Broodlords. Corruptors do. In Brood War, mutas, they morph into Guardians. That's why suddenly that kind of attack path, or that kind of tech path is more viable. So that's why, like, suddenly that's piquing my interest, as that transition would not be possible in SE2. Getting into the Guardian equivalent, I mean. Which is why in SE2 usually it's mass muta into Ling Ultra. So, I mean, Queen's Nest is on the way. That's to get into, I imagine, just Queen production into a Hive. I'm curious if we do go for the eventual Greater Spire. Hive is on the way. Meanwhile, Shin back at home just droning up. He's going to the standard composition from Queen Infestor into Hydra Lurker. What this means is that Shin has no pushing power. He's turtling. He's turtling up with a wall of Spore Crawlers, wall of Queens, wall of fungal growths as well. And then he's getting to Hydra Lurker Viper. Link Scout confirms that Dark is mass expanding. Dark does have map control, so he has the freedom to expand in such a fashion. But again, I'm really curious if after +2, Dark goes into the Greater Spire. I want to see, Pappy. I want to see. Because if he's up against Hydra Lurker, like, that's where I feel like Guardians can excel. As mutas, they rotate around. Lurkers are amassing. You can also see that Dark here has not actually tried to bust into a mineral line. He's been respecting the setup here quite a bit. I mean, if he ever tried to, he'd just be fungled. And as you mentioned, like, there is a lot of value in preserving all these mutas, more so than you know, for an SC2 player. One muta, there it is! Greater Spire, let's go! He is going into Guardians. Oh, you love to see it. So again, that's just a really unique kind of tech path here for ZvZ and SE Evo, is for the muta Brood War player to get into Guardians like this. Or, I guess, technically Devours as well, but there's no need for that. As mutas are shocking around, looking for a way in, they do catch a Queen! Queen goes down. Queen is going to get picked up. And I'll be honest here, I don't think Hydra Lurker Viper can really scale against Guardians. I think this is a little bit on SHIN. Because SHIN hasn't scouted, SHIN doesn't know. For all SHIN knows, especially if he hasn't played against this before, he might just be thinking mass muta into ultras, right? Like that just makes sense, which is why he's investing into these lurkers. So SHIN is playing blind, he's guessing, he's making assumptions, and because he doesn't really know what's going on, SHIN at this point, he would have needed Corruptor. 100%. He would have needed a Spire of his own into Corruptor tech. Here, Hydra Lurker Viper, it can do nothing to this. Like what's gonna happen? He can yoink and abduct like one Guardian at a time into the Hydras, but how many yoinks will he have? How many Vipers does he have? 2. Only 2 Vipers. Guardians have arrived, and there's no answer. Straight up, how many Guardians is this? 18! 18 Guardians have arrived. The crab of the sky, let's go! Oh my god, the move command! Jesus. The move command is brutal. 1, 2, 3 Guardians gonna be going down. So some miscontrol here by Dark, but regardless, he's still breaking through this. That was maybe the best start that SHIN could have hoped for. And again, all he can do is yoink. All he can do is abduct. Like, there's no other way for him to engage, really. At the same time, Lings, they try to poke in, but there are lurkers in position. Vipers, they're gathering as much energy as they can. Hive goes down, and no more Viper production. Oh, here comes a Parabomb. Okay. Not worth it, as we can see. But he's going for the power bombs instead. We'll force out some splits. But Jesus, I just realized just how fast these Guardians are compared to Broodlords. Broodlords take so long to split, but these Guardians, they kind of like float in the air. Like they're much more nimble. Much more nimble. Couple lurkers are going down. Yo, Microbial Shroud? True! We could Microbial Shroud, unironically. Like, that could work. Infestors are moving forward. Oh, they do take some shots to the face. But unironically, Microbial Shroud could actually be an answer here to help the Hydras. But it's one of those things that you forget you have. Ay. Like, I forgot about it as well. But unironically, that could help. Instead of, like, Fungal clearly won't. Gets a yoink, gets 1, gets 2, gets 3, 4, 5, all the yoinks coming in. Nice pickups. But, yeah, it's one of those things to think outside the box, especially because what's the weakness of Microbial Shroud? Splash damage, but there is none. Like Dark has no splash. He goes for the Fungal, but again, I think this is a little bit misguided here. The Fungal, it does some damage. But like, as a Brutal Zerg player, you'd have to support this army with Defilers, right? I guess you need Defilers with Plague. I guess that'd be the best answer to Microbial Shroud. As Guardians, they're poking in once again. And again, like, I think that SHIN's just not thinking of that at the moment. Just because, like, why would you, right? It's just such a unique dynamic, and I would not be surprised if this is the first time that SHIN is fighting against Mass Guardian like this. Fungal Para? I don't think so. I mean, the only reason why I don't think so is just because the Infestors have to get so close for a Fungal growth. They have to get so close for that. So in this kind of game state, I do think that Microbial Shroud would have been the answer here. Regardless, the yoinks, I mean, hey, over time, the abductions, they're shutting down the Guardians. If we had 18 Guardians, we are down to 14. Jesus. There's so many. Fungal grazes the Guardians. He gets 2. He gets 2 Guardians. No more lurkers left. Where's the kiting? Oh, no kiting here with the Guardians, and 2 more of them go down. 3 more. 3? Barely 3. Oh, the Hydra count is being thinned out, though. Yeah, they just take far too much damage. Well, there's 4 Hydras left. Down to 3, down to 2, down to 1. GG gets called. Dark, he will take game number 3, and he will get into, or he will take a lead in the series. GG. Whew. GG, well played. Dark does take a lead. And yeah, I do think that I feel like once the meta settles, especially because, again, I would not be surprised if that's the first time that Shin actually played against Guardians like that. I do think that if you're stuck going Hydra, Lurker, Viper, and if you already have Infestors, I do think the best answer there is Microbial Shroud. Once that's revealed, I would imagine that the best answer from Dark would be with Defilers, because, again, how do you counter that? It would have to be with splash damage with Plague, and then you'd have that kind of like dynamic between like the spellcasters and the main armies, for sure. But yeah, GG, well played. A really interesting dynamic, again, something that we have not seen before, and something that definitely has to be thought out when it comes to how to approach it, how to play against it. Again, just a really solid, thought out build by Dark, to go into 2-base Muta, to respond with his Wall of Spine Crawlers or Wall of Sunken Colonies, to get away with his 2-base Muta, and to rush into Guardians. GG, well played. Very well done there by Dark. And now we're getting into game number 4. Here we go. Here we go. Yoink is so good though. Well, as we were mentioning, again, the reason why I'm leaning towards Microbial Shroud is because the Guardians were doing so much damage. Like, even though we were yoinking, I mean, as we all saw, right? Even though there were some Guardians going down to the abductions, Shin was bleeding out so many Hydras. He was bleeding out too many Hydras, and he just ran out of army. But here we go. We're getting into our next game and spawning in the top right-hand corner, as I believe they're discussing and they're now finding out that it is an island map. Welcome one and all to Near Isle of Sirens. We have, yep, there we go. That's what I assumed. If I see players laughing, it's because they only just now realized it's an island map. We have Fatality Esports leading the series 2-1. It is Dark. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have the teal Zerg player, the SC2 Zerg. Representing Gaiman Gladiators, it is SHIN. And yes, welcome one and all. This is the replacement map for Paradox. Paradox was the island map for most of the season of SEL, but now we have moved on here to a different map, to Near Isle of Sirens. How many bases do you have? Well, you have these high-yield bases here towards your expansion locations, your natural locations. So you have 1, 2 bases you can take, and you have a center 4th base as well. So you have a 4-base setup before attempting to expand elsewhere. Also, this isn't just an island map, this is a 4-player spawn map as well. You can spawn in bottom left or bottom right as well. Now with the Overlord Scouts, both players confirm, so Dark is aware, Shin is aware, and this, I imagine, is going to be a battle of the skies. It's going to be about Muta versus Muta. That would make the most sense in my mind. Now, technically, if Shin wanted to, he could, especially because he's playing SE2 instead, he could instead try to play a similar style as he did previously and go Queen Spellcrawler Infestor into Hydra Lurker Viper. He could do so, but the problem with these island maps is that if he did want to be aggressive with his ground-based army, he'd have to Nidus. He'd have to Nidus or use Dropper Lords. So it'd be really awkward to be the aggressor here if you did commit to a ground-based army like that. I think you could probably defend on 4 bases, but taking a 5th base from there would just be like so difficult and so unnatural. So it's all about being as greedy as possible, and it should just be Muta versus Muta. Shin has eyes on Dark. Dark has to be careful with his own overlords, has to float away. Does have to float away here. Dark jokes about GGing and going to game 5. Interesting that Dark would say that. I mean, Dark is the SC2. Sorry, my apologies. No, yeah, Dark, he's a Brood War player. He is a Brood War player. I'm curious how the dynamic works between Muta versus Muta. Again, I'm making the assumption that that's the direction we're headed in. There we go. Larry's on the way for Shin. Larry's on the way for Dark. I'm curious because if you remember, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the SE2, sorry, the Brood War Muta has one extra range. So technically has a little bit more micro potential, but I don't know how much that one range does really benefit. That is something to bear in mind. Likewise, I'm sure side defense is going to be a big part of this as well. It typically is in Muta versus Muta. Uh-oh. Shin's going for a Link Flood. He's going for a Nidus all-in. Never mind. Okay, so we are rushing into a lair, and Shin, he's going for a Ling Nidus all-in. Let's go. Meanwhile, Dark is going 2 base Muta. I say 2. Technically, 4 base Muta. 4 base Muta out of Dark. He has high yield gases he's taking advantage of. If Shin can get a Nidus Worm up and running, then he can just end the game. And the reality is, oh no, Dark, he is making Lings. He can focus on the Nidus Worm if he spots it. Ooh. Okay. Risky stuff here by Shin. I assumed it was Nidus Worm. Never mind, Drop Lords. But Dark, he sees. Dark, he sees everything, and if he can respond with some sunken colonies, he's gonna be okay. There we go. The colonies are on the way. Lings are parked under the Dropper Lords, and I don't see this working. I mean, we'll see. He's gonna be able to overwhelm these Lings. Okay, he breaks through. Barely breaks through, but he's only got a handful of Lings left. Like, Shin, this is not enough. The colonies, they're finishing. Oh god. Yeah, the colonies are finishing, at least at the natural. Dark's having a hard time keeping up, but this is not enough damage here. And Shin, he delayed his tech for this. Yeah, the Spire is done. Mutas are on the way. What does Shin have? Oh boy. Shin, he has to be the defender. He's stuck being the defender. He has to defend with queens, into infestors, into spore crawlers. Like, Again, 2 Drop Lords worth of Lings was not worth it. It's not worth it here. Mutas have revealed themselves. Shin, he has to go into infestors. So just like the last game, it has to be Queen Infestor. So Shin, he has lost map control. He's lost map control. He has to be on the back foot instead. Instead, it looks like Shin, he may just decide to go into... Oh. Okay. He may decide to go into Corruptor. I would like that, actually. I do think that it's hard. It's hard, though. So a couple of things are going on here. One, Dark has map control. Dark has mutas. Dark, he's killing drones. He's containing his opponents. But Dark is also doing something more important. Queen Nest. Queen Nest is on the way. So Dark, he can rush into Fast Hive, and he can rush into Guardians. He can go into Guardians faster than previously because of the boosted economy. So Guardian tech is going to be available real quick here for Dark. And if that's the case, I wonder if it's worth investing into Spire into Corruptor instead of Hydra Lurker. Now, in saying that, the reason why I was second guessing myself is because even though Dark has access to Fast Hive, I mean, Hive is also on the way here for Shin, but even though Dark has access to that, he could go Devour, right? Like, if his opponent goes Corruptor, like, Dark could just go Devour instead. So, I mean, mutas are so good. Like, muta tech is so good in ZvZ because it so naturally transitions into either Guardian or Devour. It's crazy. Now, we can see the upgrades on the way, which is interesting to me. We have melee upgrades for Dark. I'm curious if he wants to go for link drops. I mean, we have Ventral Sacks on the way, so the answer is yes. Dark wants to go for drop play. And speaking of, there they go. Overlords them headed towards the expansions. And Shin, does he have much of a ground army? He does. He has some Lings, he has some Queens, he has some Hydras. Shin shouldn't just die to this. So the chat, Muta Scourge Queen is actually so strong against anything SE2 Zerg has air though. True, true. Yeah, that's why I was like, that's why immediately as soon as I said, you know, maybe it's worth going Corruptor, I mean, even without that, I mean, again, with the tech into Devour being available here to Dark, like makes me feel like maybe Corruptor would be the answer here for Shin. Jesus, oh my, he has mass. Okay, how many Vipers? 8. He has 8 Vipers, Bappy. Let's go. Is going to mass Viper. So if you remember last time he went Infestor, this time into a very heavy Viper composition instead. Again, I do feel like this is because, oh my god, that is a proxy hatch within the main. He's crazy. Oh my god. I mean, Dark, he's expanding out everywhere. He is expanding all over the place, taking extra bases. Lings have been scouted. But something that was I talking? Was I mentioning? All right, because Shin, because I'm sure he was facing Guardians for the first time last game, and because Fungal was really a non-issue and it just really wasn't effective at all, I do think that's why Shin did avoid Infestors this time. I do still think there's value when it comes to Microbial Shroud against Guardian, but we're headed in a very different direction. Dark is taking up into Ultra, so it is going to be, with all these melee upgrades, it's going to be Muta into Ultra Tech, not into Guardian. As here come all the Nidus Worms. Nidus Worms are set up, and Dark, he is just expanding everywhere. Jesus. But it is interesting that Dark is going for a ground-based army. It's going to be a little bit awkward, I feel. I mean, for both players, right? The mutas, they stay stacked, they all go down. Oh my god, the value. Every muta falls. And we do see Shin going for some drop lords. Oh, he forgot about Overlord Speed! It just started. Overlord Speed just begun, which is going to be a little bit awkward, but there we go. The drops are upon us. At the same time, Nidus Worm into the main. Shit, he doesn't know. He doesn't see the hidden Nidus Worms. And they don't make a sound. Oh, that's actually brutal. The Nidus Worms for brutal. They're silent. They're silent killers. That's OP. Shin doesn't know. Again, the Nidus Worms, they don't make a sound when they spawn in, and here come the Ultras, and that's going to be game. Shin is completely out of position. Dark, he rushes in, gets on top of the tech, on top of the Lurker Den, and without Lurkers, how does Shin fight this? He doesn't. He cannot contest against the Mass Ultra. He's going for the base trade. It's his only answer, but even then, they're just Nidus Worms for Dark anyway. It will not matter. The Vipers do nothing. The Hydras do nothing. And Dark, he can just Nidus across the map. Shin doesn't have that option. I guess he can jump a Lord, I guess. But GG gets called on Dark. He will take the series 3-1, advancing on to the semi-finals. GG. Oh my god. GG, well played. Congratulations here, Dark. He will take the series. But I mean, there's just so much to think about here when it comes to what just happened. It's a dynamic that I wasn't thinking of either, and I don't know if anyone in the chat was thinking of that. The fact that Broodlord Nidus Worms don't make sounds. They're silent, Pappy. They don't make any noise, so you can do something crazy like that. I mean, not just mass expanding everywhere with Nidus Worms, but yeah, going for Nidus Worms into your opponent's own base as well, completely unscouted. Very cheeky move out of Dark, and yeah, GG, well played. Very nicely done. Very nicely done. Oh my god. Dark trick Shin into an air war. Yeah, sure, definitely in a way. I mean, I do think it just came down to the lack of scouting of the Nidus Worm. If it wasn't for that, if you recall, Shin was taking into Lurker, so in a head-on fight, Shin would have been fine anyway. That's the power of Hydra Lurker Viper, is what I just mentioned, Lurker, right? Shin, he was working on Lurker tech. He just didn't know that he needed to morph in Lurkers and be defensive because he didn't know there were Nidus Worms going off. So otherwise he would have had a much stronger response there. He would just morph in Lurkers, right? That's all he had to do. He just didn't know, right? He just didn't know that alas, Nidus Worms did finish up, and GG. GG, well played. Dark does take the series. A very dynamic ZvZ, and there's again, like it also felt like a lot of these players were experiencing this kind of dynamic for the first time as well. On the one hand, that does give me a little bit of excitement when it comes to the future of SEL. On the other hand, it also shows us that maybe these players need to play a little bit more StarCraft Evolution as well. Like, GG there. GG, well played. Congratulations, Dark. He will advance on. And the question becomes, who will advance on to face off against him? Let's find out. So a big win here for Dark. And Shin, despite, I would say, being one of the favorites to win the event, gets knocked out in the quarterfinals. Oh boy. Here we go.